But we got to start with the debacle that is Mets Braves dealing with Hurricane Helene. And the hurricane has rolled in and caused some problems for everyone, especially for this series, because their games got postponed for yesterday and today. They actually postponed the series to now be a doubleheader on Monday. So they're going to have a doubleheader, back-to-back games. It's supposed to start like 1 o'clock, I think the start time was on Monday. And the hard part about all of this, now the Phillies don't have these problems because the Phillies have locked in a first round bye anyway, so they don't have to worry about the wild card round. But the wild card round is actually scheduled to start on Tuesday. And so with a doubleheader on Monday,
Disaster.
with what was supposed to be a day off for teams that are in the wild card round, now the Mets and Braves not only have a game the day before, but potentially a doubleheader. And not to mention, based off of the playoff picture we know, they could be going in the first round. Like if it were to end today, the Mets are facing the Padres on the road. So that means you're going from your doubleheader. This is if it were to end today. The Braves wouldn't have to worry about anything because they'd be done. They'd be out. But if the playoffs started today, the Mets have to then play that doubleheader and then go on the road to face the Padres. It's, I don't know, just a quick flight across the country. Time zone change, no big deal. So this is chaotic, but I feel like we're just kind of sitting back like, brouhaha. Sucks to suck, but it's wild.
I mean, there's two things here. One, this is absolutely a hilarious situation for a known hater of the Braves and the Mets. That's me. So I do see the hilarity in it. But if I was a fan of the Mets or the Braves, I would be cursing Rob Manfred up and down the East Coast to anybody with a set of ears or eyes that would read or hear what I had to say. Because for them, David O'Brien from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution pointed this out, and he's absolutely right. For them not to move the game up on Monday to the off day,
correct,
to alleviate the possibility of a doubleheader and just leave Monday as one makeup game, was a brutal mistake by Major League Baseball. I mean, these hurricanes are known 4 or 5 days in advance, their path and where they're going. This didn't take a rocket scientist to tell you should have moved the game up to Monday and gotten one in when you could. So, one, hilarious situation that affects my worst enemies. And then two, Major League Baseball is incompetent. So it's like, the angel and devil inside me. They screwed up, Major League Baseball. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But it's also hilarious. So, like, I can't be too mad at them as a fan of the Phillies. But if I was a Braves or Mets fan, I'd be irate. I'd be spitting all over this microphone with anger.
Oh, well, thank goodness
you don't spit when you get angry?
I mean, I spit when I talk regularly, so.
Exactly. So you get worked up.
That's when I get going. And it's like,
wind me up with the Rob Manfred freak out. I'll start spitting all over this studio.
Hurricane Helene is a Category 2 hurricane. It doesn't matter. A hurricane is a hurricane. And they didn't know about it. They've been tracking it for quite some time. All the meteorologists have been keeping an eye on it. All the weather watchers have been.
This is not breaking news.
So it's not at all. This is not a surprising thing that came rolling in for this series to have had as you mentioned, to me, the easy fix was you just play on Monday. They probably could have and should have done a doubleheader Monday or Tuesday just to be proactive because, I don't know, it's a hurricane. It's not like you're talking about a little drizzle of rain.
No, this wasn't a pocket rolling through that you thought you could get the game in. It was a hurricane.
Right. Like, it wasn't like yesterday, for example. Here in Philly, it did rain for a little while. They had the tarps down and everything. But that you knew was going to be a small sprinkle, a quick shower. This is not that. And for them to have been able to play Tuesday and have a day off Monday, they both easily could have played Monday. There's no excuse to not get this series in. And so now you have the possibility of like running into potentially, depending on if the series is needed or not, they're talking about like scrapping it all together or changing it on Monday. It's just unnecessary.
I don't see the Diamondbacks falling off the face of the earth here making this because, if it doesn't matter, then Rob Manfred's discretion will be used to play it, which is hilarious. Rob Manfred, nobody trusts your discretion. But the Diamondbacks would really have to like kind of fall out of this, which I don't really see happening with 3 games left.
Yeah.
So
you know who their 3 games left are against, right?
Isn't it the Padres?
San Diego.
Yeah.
Yes.
San Diego, well, it depends. So if San Diego wins tonight, they're still technically alive for the NL West. If the Dodgers win tonight, they clinch the NL West.
Exactly.
So the Padres have a lot to play for. If the Padres win tonight, then, I mean, it's still hard to sweep a divisional opponent. It's going to be really interesting. Say what you want about the third wild card. It makes for a really fun final week of baseball. Especially when Rob Manfred screws up a doubleheader on the final day on top of it all. That's just like the cherry on the sundae. This is good stuff.
Well, what makes it all even better is the Phillies don't have to worry about any of these things, which makes it even more enjoyable because we can just kind of sit back and exactly.
Oh, we got a game next Saturday, you say? Oh, that gives me a whole week of just watching and putting my feet up.
Stretch out the dogs, sit back and watch the chaos, eat on our popcorn.
I'm not going to show the toes, though. You got to pay for those on only feet.
All right, Jamie. Well, yes, the Padres do have the Diamondbacks next. It's the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Mets, the Braves, the Dodgers, until the Dodgers get that final win to lock in. It's just like everyone's scrambling to the finish line to see where they're going to be in the playoffs, if they're going to be in the playoffs if you're the Braves. Because, yes, at this point, the table has not changed in the sense that it would still be a Padres-Mets matchup for 4 and 5 and a Diamondbacks-Brewers matchup
Jay
for
Flo
3 and 6.
points out in the chat the Diamondbacks just have to win one, and they will be playing a doubleheader on Monday, which is great theater. And how do you handle that from a pitching staff element? Chris Sale was supposed to. Rich and I yesterday before the Eagles show were talking. We're like, well, even if they had tried to move the game up proactively yesterday to like 1 o'clock, and I think our buddy down in Atlanta said you probably could have gotten the game in the afternoon. There was like rains and all that. But if you move that game up to 1 through Chris Sale on Wednesday, and then the other game was Monday, the deciding playoff game, you could have thrown Chris Sale 2 times in a 3-game series. That would have been pretty hilarious too. So it's going to be great theater on Monday. How do you handle the rotation?
Right.
Because then you're going to have to play the next day. So, you don't want Chris Sale throwing on Monday.
But you don't know if you're playing the next day.
Well, yeah, that's
the hard part is it's not even a situation. If you're the Braves, you have to go in. This is your season on the line.
But you can't let a guy go too long, and then you have to use your bullpen, but you don't want to tax your bullpen.
You want to put out your best starting pitching, of course, to try to lock in.
So is Sale going to throw? Tyler, you look like you have something to say. The thing is he pitching now tomorrow?
So I'll take a look at their rotation. But the thing is, guys, if those games matter, those games on Monday matter.
You have to pitch.
You
have to play as if this is Game 7 of the playoffs.
But there's also probably a pitch count element of that because if you get into
I'm not sure there is because if you
get into a 3-game wild card, you need Chris Sale.
Yeah, but if you don't win that game, you're going golfing.
I know.
Right, you don't have to worry about the 3-game wild card.
But
you need to. Like
it's
Tyler's
a manager's
saying,
worst nightmare.
You're playing this as if it's Game 7 because you have to get into the wild card and even have to worry about it.
And you have a bullpen you trust, you have to lean on your bullpen.
Do they have a bullpen you
don't
trust?
Want Chris Sale going out. I mean, their closer's pretty good. You don't want to have Chris Sale go 7 or 8 innings and then completely removed from a wild card series. Yeah, they don't have a bullpen like we do.
No, they don't.
I hear all these.
Their only option is Chris Sale that they have to really lean on right now because of the amount of injuries that they've had.
That is Brian Snicker's going to be
and you need him to pitch every day.
Yeah. Tyler, what do you got there? Is their rotation out for these next 3 days?
Nah, they're TBD for everything. But
so Chris Sale was supposed to pitch Wednesday, so I would imagine he pitches
The Braves bullpen, by the way, is really, really good. It's a 3.3 team ERA across baseball.
You got to rely on the bullpen. You don't want your starter going too deep. You got to go I might have a 5 or 6 inning cap.
So here's their usage rate. Obviously, it's not going to matter because they're going to have some days off. But Joe Jimenez is the only one who pitched on Tuesday.
Okay,
obviously, they didn't play yesterday. Jimenez threw 9. I'm sorry, Raisel Iglesias threw 5 pitches. So Iglesias in the last 5 days has thrown 48 pitches. Jimenez has thrown 36. Pierce Johnson's thrown 26. Bummer, Hernandez, and Lee have all been within 20 or less. So here's the thing, though. Those numbers don't matter in these next couple of games.
Sure.
Because, again, if you don't beat the Mets, you're going to Cancun. You're going to, St. Lucia. You're not going to San Diego. So you got to get to San Diego before you worry about who's pitching.
If Chris Sale gives you 5 solid, you got to think about leaning on your bullpen there.
I disagree.
It depends on the game.
Because then you need Chris Sale in game 2 or 3 of the wild card.
You need to get to a game 2 or 3.
Well, then you got to trust your bullpen. You can't go into a wild card series without your best pitcher.
No, but here, let me ask you this question: if the Phillies were in this spot, do you trust Zach Wheeler after 70 pitches, or do you turn it over to the bullpen? I think you let Zach Wheeler go, right? Chris Sale's the same thing.
No, I want Zach Wheeler pitching in the wild card series. I want him starting game 3. But I have a great bullpen. I use it.
You can't believe in the fact that you're going to be getting to another Zach Wheeler start. You have to play this like the pretense he's not pitching again.
I also,
And then you
of
get
course,
into a wild card
naturally,
series and don't have maybe your horse.
of course, naturally depends on
Right,
where the
that's the
game
whole
is
point
at the
of-
time.
And
Well,
again,
that's why it sucks.
Yeah, it
because
depends
normally
on,
if it ends
like-
on Sunday, you at least have a buffer day.
Right.
You know, maybe if the game's at night, you almost get like 36 hours.
Yeah.
there's a way to get around this, and it's win more regular season games. That's
Well, yeah,
that's
it's
the
not our
easy
problem.
part.
That's,
but
that's a poverty issue for the Braves.
but
and
my
Mets.
point is, like, you have to rely upon your the
I think
the
it's
next
a fascinating
the
discussion.
next 3 outs are the most important outs.
I know. And you have to rely on your bullpen, but you want to have your best pitcher, the ball in the hands
But
of
if
your
you're
best pitcher.
up 2 or 3 runs, you
That's
have
the
to
other-
think about saving them.
But the hard part is we know
you
how
pay
fast it
bullpen
can
guys
swing.
too. You know what
I know.
mean?
I know.
It's
That's the thing. It all depends on the game, the score, the situation, the pitch count, how he's pitching. It's Chris Sale, so I'm sure he'll be pitching great.
Seth F says I'm wrong.
I think personally,
I mean, you have to think
you
about the wild
win-
card. If
I
you're
think you
leading
first-
after 5 or 6, you have to consider
I
the
think
wild
you first
card.
lock in on winning that game, and then that's a problem for the next day.
I agree with you, Renee.
I hate to say it because like you need Chris Sale to start, but you need to get there. So I think you need to do everything you can to win that game, and then figure outs for the wild card.
They have a good bullpen.
I know, but it's Chris Sale.
We'll see what happens on Monday. It's gonna this
Dun
is
dun dun.
you know, you can tell me I'm wrong all you want, but like if you have a lead in the 5th or 6th inning and he's at 80, 85
I think
pitches,
7 innings would be.
there has to be a point where you have confidence in your bullpen and say, we're going to win this with them, and Chris Sale can pitch game 3 of the wild card
But
series.
does 85 versus 95 really, is that a detriment?
If they're
to-
high intensity,
Of course they're-
high
yeah, it's a
leverage
different
playoff
situation.
outs, yeah, I think that matters.
But he's still going to he's going to go through a start. He's going to go through his whole routine of a start, and there's going to be a recovery period. No matter if he throws 80 or 90 or 100, like, I'm not sure 15 pitches.
I think 110 and 80 is
110 and 80
wildly-
is different, but 85 and 90, you used 85 as your number, right?
Yeah,
80,
probably
85.
cap him at 85.
85 and 95 are not, I don't think 10 pitches are that detrimental.
I mean, are you 36 yet? How old's Chris Sale?
He's probably 35, 36, something like that. I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
I
You
think
know,
he's
you
30
say that,
yeah.
but 10, 15 pitches could be, you know, you could feel that differently.
He's gonna be pitching on short rest regardless. Like whether it's 80 or 90 or 100 or 1,000, he's gonna be pitching on short rest. They're gonna need
I
him.
mean, if I have a good bullpen like the Braves do, like the Phillies do, I say, all right, Chris, you got us through 6, man. Thanks.
Yeah,
We're
I think
getting
his
you ready
number.
for. And
I
this
think
is
6
assuming
or
you have
7.
the lead. You're not
Of
going
course,
to.
that's the other thing.
And like, it's a very interesting managerial
This
decision.
doubleheader just messes up a lot of things for the
It
Braves and the Mets, and that's
screws
what it comes down to.
And that's the other thing. How do you manage
fortunately-
your bullpen in game 1 versus
Exactly.
game 2
Exactly.
versus the next
because
day?
the other thing is, for the wild card, we know you have to, of course,
It's
get
totally
to a
messed
game.
up.
Yeah.
Rob Manfred
You have to get
screwed
there.
the pooch.
You have to, you're not going to be able to pitch Chris Sale back-to-back days. So then what? Like it's just, there's so many factors here that this really is insane of what it does to the Mets and the Braves